All right, folks, here we go. Yes. Which one is it? It's one of the schools. Without question, it is. I think we're going to switch, though, because we actually have, there's even a different, Ponaganset is back in the news. I don't, and I'll tell you exactly what it is in just a moment. That one. That should be. Good afternoon, Janet Dwyer. We have a special guest that should be joining us. Coming up, yes, there's Jane Rice. People were asking, is Jane Rice going to be here? I said, I think she's going to be here. And she's here. Yes. It is Jane Rice. But we're going to start off, obviously, there's Henry B. Hilarious. All right. We're going to be starting in just a couple moments. Where am I? There we go. My goodness. Get it together, Harry. Hi there, Sue. Gian says the audio was good. Terrific. Good. All right. Yes. Thank you, Bendy. We're not going to play into the rumors. Okay, let me double check. We're going to wait and let them explain. But it is true. This, Steve. Yes, my man. There we go. Let me just double check this. Okay. And let me just double check this. This Carlos. Of course, the radio show is just flying. Now, I admit I don't understand the discrepancy between the superintendent is saying bullets with the elementary school, and then the police are now saying Smithfield police are saying singular, not plural. I agree. I don't get it either. So I don't know what that is. Meaning I don't have an explanation for it either. I do not. Huh. Oh, so that's different. They on some platforms they have me I'm like below the photo. That's a different setup. I'll have to get used to this. They switched it around a little bit. I'm looking at the Facebook page, and I don't know what it looks like on X. On X, it looks normal. I think we can begin, or we're going to begin momentarily, folks. Good afternoon on this sunny Wednesday, where we have a guest that's scheduled for 1:30. I have every reason to believe we're going to have the guest at 1:30. But sometimes, things can happen. But if it works out, terrific. That's I'm adjusting to how on. And again, if you're listening to the radio, you're not hearing anything. Yes, but there we go. But for those that are watching online, and we're live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. But wait, we are also live on X, on YouTube, and also it's kind of funny. On it's the app that we're using. It's a new. I gotta figure it out. I can see I see. So for some platforms, there I am below. Let me adjust it. I wish I can adjust it. Nope. Let me try it like that. Then it's really small. Again, I know if you're listening to the radio, you're thinking, what is all this nonsense? But it's good nonsense as we're trying to adjust things. I see. So what they're trying to adjust to is some platforms do horizontal and some do vertical. And so they're adjusting it depending on which platform it is. So I'll have to play around with it. I'm not thrilled with it. We could go with it. I don't know what it's going to look like when we have a guest. Are we going to be side by side, or am I going to be? This is coming off like the Brady Bunch a little bit with the different the different squares. Never a dull moment, folks. As we continue to try to be below on Facebook is awkward. Well, all right. Well, we can always go to that. I like having the platforms that closed a while ago. No, not the nightclub Henry B. I think that I want to be in landscape. I think that's what it's telling me. So I'll try that tomorrow. Yes. Look at this. Look at the impatience. Look at the impatience. I'm adjusting. Can we get on with I? Who's I? I before E, except after? What are you talking about? Can we get on with I? Oh, the grand challenged have come out. Dawn Lee De Silva. Can we get on with I? Are we supposed to try to figure out who I is? She means can we get on with me? Is it me or I? All right, we're gonna. I know it may look a little odd, but it'll probably just be for today that we're gonna do it like that. All right, we are gonna begin, folks. This, yes, it is. I think I want to be landscape. I think I did portrait, and I want to be landscape. But anyhow, since we have, thank you, Harriet Brown. Listen, Dawn Lee Silva, that is strike one, strike two. You are one away from being removed from the broadcast. I don't know where these people come from that think that they can be rude and use poor grammar. That's the other thing. People that come in and think they can use poor grammar. We are trying to correct people that are using poor grammar. So we have removed people for less. We have removed people for less. I will never understand the people on social media, a little bit of a mini rant, who believe, we're at the vehicle that went into the water on Saturday night. Boy, it is poor. Great. It is just, we are challenged. What is going on? My goodness. I mean, it's very, very discouraging, folks. See, the problem is, admittedly, it's embarrassing. I'll admit this. It's embarrassing for me to have the low information crowd that there's a whole meeting in the library in the school right now. All right, now this is information that we want. Whole meeting in the library in our school. All right, well, we're the only ones that have the Ponaganset story, and we're trying to get more. So we will get into it. But I do want to remind you about PR Landscape Materials in Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. See, here we go. I will never understand the people that say, listen, I'm rude. That's who I am. And I don't care if I get tossed out. You know, when I worked in a club, there were people that would say, I don't care if I get thrown out of this, you can't throw me out of this club. I'm going to finish my drink. And then boom, they would toss them out. I've never understood that mentality. Never. Folks, but this portion of the program on this beautiful Wednesday brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Pumpkins, straw bales, cornstalks, gourds, Indian corn, native vegetables. They have it all. This is the ideal time for planting. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Now, we do have an update. They are, Rachel, I'm telling you. We do have an update on the website, dpetro.com, which is brought to you by the Cohasset Inn. 226 Cohasset Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They're waiting for you at the Cohasset Inn. So I want to, there's definitely, all right, I'm going to just mention, and I know on Facebook it's going to look a little strange that I'm below Ponaganset, but Ponaganset is back in the news. Now, police were at the school. The police were at Ponaganset High School. And we're the only ones that have the story, much like we're the ones that broke the story this morning about Pleasant View in Smithfield. But Ponaganset, I believe we have people that all right, let's hold off. That's let's hold off on any names before I'm uncomfortable with that. But let's wait. But a teacher was removed from a classroom at Ponaganset High School. Now, we're going to wait to see what information they put out. That much we know. Kids were in class. The class was canceled. Police came in and removed a male teacher from a classroom. Now, the reasons behind it are unclear at this time. So, but that is news. Now, for those that say, you know, that's not news, it is news. We don't know that. You know, here's the thing. I don't want to have to be police. And Carlos is here, so we're going to need a moderator to get involved. But we don't, the chief is in there right now. Okay, keep us posted on that. Keep us posted on that. I did post, there's a meeting in the library right now. This is happening in real time at Ponaganset High School. This is a developing story that just happened. We're going to have right now. How do you get that? Everyone asked that. All the media asked that. Everyone asked that. That is the number one question that I get. You know, it all comes. Why? Because I have the right forum that I am able to break news. And we broke the story this morning about the bullet found, or bullets. I don't know. The superintendent said bullets. And the police, Smithfield police, came out and said at a middle school there was single bullet. But that was this morning. They brought a canine. This is all yesterday. We broke that news about Pleasant View where that happened. This is different. This is a new development at Ponaganset High School, literally happening as we speak in real time. Now, and just to finish up, I don't want people to get confused because it could be confusing. Wait a minute. What are these schools? One is you have this morning, yesterday, a bullet was found. A bullet was found at Pleasant View Elementary. Superintendent said 2 bullets. But Smithfield police this morning said there was one bullet found. Then they even know the student that brought it. But that's not what we're talking about right now. This is different. This is happening right now, Ponaganset High School, where a teacher, male teacher, I have the name, but I'm going to wait. We're going to wait. There's allegations. That's right, Chuck. I want to wait to see, due to the sensitive nature of this, we're going to wait to see what the police say, because there's different ways to interpret the story. That's true. That's true. But we're going to stay on schedule here. But this is developing story, obviously. And I don't think, admittedly, I don't think a lot of people fully appreciate the element of being first and, excuse me, and not only that, but getting the story right. And that's why we're going to go a little slow. Yes, thank you, Michael. Therefore, everyone knows who it is, so let's hold off on naming. That'll be for later. Thank you, Barry. Yes. It's my understanding. Michael's not wrong, but just I'll tell you why I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable because we don't know what the allegations are. I'm hearing different things. And I just did that a teacher was removed from the classroom. And outside of that, on violating, I want to, we're going to wait to see what the school is going to say and what the police are going to say. So if you want more details, we don't have anything that is confirmed. We're going to hold off on that. I do know the name of the teacher that was removed from the classroom. I believe it is a teacher who was a graduate from 2014. So, but I'm going to hold off because I think there's different ways to interpret the why. So right now, the rumor mill is cranked up, and we want to be very cautious here. And I'll tell you why, folks. I mean, these are people's reputations. Things take off, and we're going to be cautious with this because we want to make sure you get it right. However, what we do know, we're not going to name any names. Let's not name any names. But what I do want you to know, and here's what we can. This is unusual that police showed up to a classroom and removed a male teacher from a classroom at Ponaganset High School this morning. And so on something like this, that is serious. Now, I'll learn more this afternoon. It could be. I agree. There's, and I, you know, people are jumping to conclusions about something. And what Michael is saying is what people need to understand. I don't expect a high school student to know the ins and outs of the law. But parents that are sharing information that is wrong, they should. There's various scenarios that if someone is a teacher's removed from a classroom, if someone were removed in handcuffs, that would signify a certain type of crime. If they're just removed and then they find out, just as an example, hypothetical, but if someone had a restraining order against someone, and let's say there was a custody battle, get involved, but that doesn't mean, well, I mean, I guess that's criminal, but it people are jumping to conclusions. So exactly right. Yes. You can refer to me as Mr. DePietro or Mr. Juan. Thank you. Learn the story first. You know, here's where I don't understand why someone would come in. I don't understand what that means. You know, that's a good point, but we don't know the timing of that. Oh, wow. I don't understand. We have not heard that it was in handcuffs. I'm trying not to react to the chat that we have in social media, and I know I saw. No, we're not jumping to any conclusions. I know I saw Carlos. I'm not sure where Carlos is. We could certainly use Carlos right now. Yes, I don't know about that. See, here's the problem. I want to warn people that that doesn't mean it's a parent complaint. I'm trying to. He wasn't in handcuffs. Okay, well then that tells us a lot. So, but that could be a domestic. That doesn't mean. See, I don't like just allegation of not a parent complaint. Well, that's nothing else. So, all right. Well, this person's being removed. I don't know what happened to Carlos. We normally have a mod during this time, and today we do not have a mod at this time. So we maybe could use a mod at this time. But we do know that that did happen. So I know people want more details, but we're going to have to wait until the school. I would imagine the school is going to release a statement on this, because listen, this should be, to be very clear, this shouldn't be the norm. There's Carlos. See, I don't know, fake news. That happened, that the police showed up and removed a teacher from a classroom. So, well, the police, all right, we're going to leave it at that. As far as the police did not escort him out, the police showed up to a classroom. I'm going to ask Carlos to jump on, and simply because there's Rep. Rogers, or Senator, excuse me. So yes, that's right. We are going to wait till a press conference. But here's the problem. Some of this people, I don't understand now you have students that are coming in. The police were at the school. The police wanted to talk to the teacher. These kids should not go to class. You don't need to be here. So, but we had this with the gym teacher, where people start running interference. No one said handcuffs. No one said handcuffs. Where people start running interference for the gym teacher. We had that. People that immediately took to social media, and certainly our page, saying that the allegations about a gym teacher, that wasn't true. It's all made up. It's fake. None of this is true. We get that. So, so that's why, it's difficult. But without question that something did happen, and maybe it was resolved in some way, but there's definitely something happening at the school. That much we know, and we're gonna. The students should, I just saw this morning, Governor DeSantis was on Fox and Friends, and in Florida, where students don't have cell phones in school, the grades and the test grades have gone way, way up. So it is something that should happen. So we're going to ask Carlos. We're looking for an aggressive nature here. Every teacher who doesn't have a class going on in the library right now. Okay. See, and that also contradicts. These are just students that are coming in, and Carlos is trying to be a good guy about it, but I have a program to do, and we can't dedicate all this time to nonsense. So, after the program, if you would like to be a moderator during this time, 1 to 2 later, shoot me a message. We definitely are in need of more moderators during this time, and especially those that will take a firmer stance against 15, 16, and 17-year-old students who should not even be on their phone and should be in school paying attention, and clearly have no etiquette and no manners. And it is an epidemic that is going on. So, but it is, one of the elements of being on social media is it's you can't, you have to. Okay, the police chief and multiple police were in the office, and obviously that completely goes against what, for whatever reason, people come on and start to run interference. So let me do this. We do have a guest coming just in time. Folks, this portion of the program, though, is brought to you by Propane Plus. Call them today, 401 885 4209, or in Massachusetts, 508 252 3359 for Propane Plus. Heating and cooling, residential or commercial, you can depend on Propane Plus. Call Propane Plus today at 401 885 4209, or in Massachusetts, it's 508 252 3359 for Propane Plus heating and cooling. Remember, their website is 24/7, residential or commercial. You can depend on Propane Plus. Again, call them in Rhode Island, 401 885 4209 for Propane Plus. So we want to get back on track here. Okay, and then we'll try to get to the bottom of exactly with what's happening with that situation. And I apologize, folks. This is what I refer to as a hijack. We hijack what you're doing, and we normally have safeguards in place. Today we did not, for whatever reason, but we're just gonna move ahead here. And I want to remind you about Watson Materials. Call Watson Materials today, folks. Remember, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island is Watson Materials, and you can call them at 401 885 0600. Watson Materials today, 401 885 are appreciate what they can do with their outdoors. And Watson Materials has the largest selection of landscape materials. It's Watson Materials. Call them today, 401 885 0600. And again, Watson Materials. Call on, request a quote, 401 885 0600. The most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island: landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone. It's Watson Materials. All right. Now, I believe we're going to have a guest at 1:30. I think so. But based on the way the show is going, our program is going today, anything could happen. Anything could happen. So Governor McGreed is going to be leaving to go to California. I want to just check and see. We're supposed to have, again, folks, a number of people that are listening, I encourage you, you see it scrolling on the screen, details on depetro.com. Now, we're supposed to have Dick Morris on, releases The Real Charlie Kirk, first major book since death, reveals Kirk's influence on U.S. politics, President Trump, and more. And he's supposed to be joining us, but who knows? Who knows when the book tour? Now, there's definitely a police presence. You have to be cautious of various people that come in and then trying to throw us off guard. Again, if you are a regular, we have Debbie on YouTube who does a good job, but it sure sounds we could use someone, a moderator, for the 1 to 2. So if you're always on 1 to 2, then you certainly could, we could talk about the situation with being a mod, just because we don't want a situation like we just had where a group of students come in and kind of bum rush and hijack against that. So I want to wait and see. on if that's true. So, but we'll see. It's very possible. We've had other guests that okay. I want to wait and see exactly how that is. That's quite all right, Debbie. That's right. All right. No, there was a Facebook problem. It was. It can happen, and then it's obviously very distracting. Right now, I want to reset. I want to apologize to everyone. That's usually not the norm. The reason I have moderators is simply due to the fact that then it doesn't interfere with the broadcast, and then I can focus. But because otherwise, if we don't have it, we have what we just had, which is people just come in and just start putting outrageous things and naming names and making allegations, and it's really the allegations, and we want. And I fully recognize some people tolerate it. I don't like it if you can avoid it, and so there's that. All right. So a couple of things are going to happen. Either we're going to have a 1:30 guest, or we're not. But let's stay on schedule. I do want to check something that is. I'm not. Let's see. One of. Okay. 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 Someone put about something, and of course it's misinformation. It's misinformation. So folks, it's one of those things. And again, I know if you're listening to AM 1380 99.9 FM, thank you for your patience as we try to navigate this. Most of the time we're able to, but occasionally something like this happens, and it can happen in a lot of different instances. But I want to remind you now, I did also see, I think the meteorologist, thank you, Gene B. I love this. Thank you. See, this is what we're talking about. I don't know. I think Carlos, for whatever reason, is a little bit behind, but we'll act it. Thank you, Gene. I appreciate that. Right there. Thank you. Now, I did see on Channel 10, it's very possible a hurricane. Could we actually be getting a hurricane into next week? After it was raining like hell this morning, it was windy, and now all of a sudden it is. I did see. Now again, it's only a possibility, and we still have a long way to go. But I want to remind you, folks, when disaster strikes, ServPro of Providence. That's where they come in. Fast, thorough, professional. ServPro of Providence. You can call them at 401-941-5500. 401-941-5500. ServPro of Providence. If you have a fire, especially with a commercial structure, if you have well, it's a little bit, if you have a fire, you're going to have smoke damage, you're going to have fire damage, you're going to have water damage. ServPro of Providence, that's who you call. If you have a disaster, then you're going to say, this is a disaster, I need someone that can handle it. ServPro Providence can do that. 401-941-5500. All right, folks, again, good afternoon as we try to get back on the rails here. I will say this, definitely something happening at Ponaganset High School. I also want to use this as a time to also mention that right now, because people ask me, what's the latest with the Barrington teacher? Right now, there's no update on this. That Barrington teacher who basically celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Teachers are definitely in the news. Now, as far as the Ponaganset gym teacher, that's a state police investigation. I don't know how long that's going to go. We don't know how long that's going to go. We don't know how in depth they're going to go. So it's not as if at any moment we're going to have an answer on that. Now, the teacher in Barrington, where is the school committee on that? It seems pretty cut and dry. There's definitely something wrong with the public school teachers, where if you saw some of the footage of the No Kings rally over the weekend, and there was a Chicago teacher identified, and I hate to even admit, but there was a woman, there was some cars that were riding by where you had the No Kings protesters. So this was in Chicago, and you have protesters, and they're marching around. And then you have some people, I guess, who would be under counter protesters, and they're holding a Charlie Kirk sign. And if you've seen it, there's a woman. Somebody just had footage of this woman, and her reaction to see the Charlie Kirk people was she was laughing and going like this, like that. Then it turns out she's a Chicago public school teacher. So, I mean, it is like way off the rails. Someone like that should not be in a classroom. Why is it when we have these, I guess we could call them flare-ups, that it turns out to be it's a teacher that is reacting in this way? And it's always a public school teacher, seemingly, that is reacting this way. You had someone that worked for a college in Illinois as well. Boy, Illinois, who knew? But who he was essentially saying that this was an individual that was then saying that it's time to, bring out firearms about, with what's going on. So, and going after ICE, which is beyond the pale. So there's something going on where you have these teachers that are doing that. So, my goodness, folks. Again, it's just one of those things. That's all right. We can deal with it. It is terrible. I didn't say that I have. It's a developing story with the Ponaganset thing. This is an immaturity thing. People expect everything to come out in that manner. So it doesn't work that way. So we're going to wait. We do know there's obviously something going on, and I'm not going to repeat some of the allegations because nothing was confirmed on that. But there's something, and as I mentioned earlier on the radio show, I think there's something wrong with all this fighting in the public schools. Woonsocket had two girls arrested. Providence had. This is the second month of the school year. Providence had. They're not getting detention. They're not, tough words in the hallway. This is like an epidemic of students getting arrested at these schools. So we're gonna hold off, and I'm moving beyond that. Boy, of all days for us not to have the guests, but that can happen sometimes. It's funny when the booker had mentioned the guests we were supposed to be having. My first reaction was, I remember I was supposed to have that person on several years ago, and then he pulled a no-show. and then it happens, which it can happen again, but we're gonna push through. And again, a lot of the information that can be put out, it's that's why we have to vet stuff, because too many times, I'm not even going to get into it, someone else had put a story that is not true, and they thought it was true, but we can't rely on just the regular person. So let's get back on track here, folks. This portion of the program is brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Call them today, 401-732-1730. Letter J. Perry Paving, 401-732-1730. Now, you want to get it done before wintertime comes. Call J. Perry Paving today, 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730 free quote, letter J, free estimate, J. Perry Paving, high quality, fair pricing, get your driveway paved. It's J. Perry Paving, 401 732 1730. Now, as much as this is annoying, I also realize when we would be outside of the retrial, the Karen retrial, and we would have literally thousands of people watching. And at that time, I could not focus on what many of the comments were. And now, now I can only imagine what exactly was happening in some of the comments. But I want to just repeat our top story. So number one, definitely something happening at Ponaganset High School and involves another teacher. I want to be very clear. We don't know exactly what's involved. It's a developing story. There are some people that don't understand the nature of it. Some of it we could dismiss as some just being people young. Other people, it's who they are. And they just think that everything's a television show or movie. Then when something happens, it just doesn't work that way. I want to remind people on Saturday night, all we knew was that our car was submerged in the water and that they were able to get the person out. Now, there were people right then, well, who was in the car and how old were they and who are they and what happened? Like it doesn't happen that way in real time. And I think maybe it is a defense mechanism that some people fall into, that if you see footage, and I've said this before, but you see footage of 9/11, there are people arriving at ground zero saying, what happened? What's happening? I think of that moment, no one really knew. People were saying, I think a plane went into the building, but there were, people that just, what happened here, and I can understand the nature of, oh my God, what's happening? But, well, what kind of plane was it? And why did they fly into the building? Was there anyone on it? Was it a passenger plane? Was it a jet airliner? Why did they do that? Who was pilot? Like, people just start rattling off questions. And you think in those moments of 9/11, but they didn't know. They didn't know what airline it was. They didn't know who was the piloting. They didn't know it had been hijacked. They didn't know how many people were on board. But that doesn't stop people that immediately think, even in a breaking news situation, well, how many people were on board? Well, who was piloting? Well, why did it run into the plane? Well, what about the passengers? Well, it just, in real time, it just doesn't work that way. So I found out this morning that there was definitely something up at Ponaganset High School, if we're talking about the latest. So now I'm not getting into what some of the allegations may be, because someone shared with me what they thought one of the allegations was. And to me, it didn't match up to what they were saying. So I don't believe it's what that person. And then someone else sent me a message, and they were repeating what I think would be false information. So to be very clear, and I'm not trying to be cryptic, or some people may say, he doesn't know that. It's not. Much like Saturday night, we didn't know who was driving. We didn't know that 3 Warwick police officers jumped in and rescued the 71-year-old man, Warwick resident Frank Davis, who the family said he may have had a medical episode. So, but we did know that a car was in the water. Yes, exactly right. The news is out. Much like, the first story that we did on the Ponaganset gym teacher, if you log on to depetro.com, we didn't even name her, but we did have a pretty solid that a teacher had resigned and that the police were at Ponaganset High School that Friday afternoon. So initially we didn't name her. It was just something is going on, and they're investigating some allegation of this teacher and a student. And then when we got locked in on, we could confirm who it was and more details on it. It progressed like that. So we're not naming anyone, and we're not going to say what the allegations are. But I am telling you right now that there is definitely, I think there's something wrong with the public school system right now. There absolutely is. And I'm not saying I have the immediate solution, but if you look at all these political movements, whether it be the death of Charlie Kirk or it's the reaction when the school wasn't in session, but the No Kings protesters and so forth, there's something off in the public schools. And there's also something wrong with all these fighting in the schools. I'm not saying whatever they're doing isn't working. And I recognize a superintendent or a principal may say, you don't know how tough it is and blah, 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 and that type of thing. But all I'm saying is whatever they're doing, it's not working. Woonsocket High School is a different example. I mean, Woonsocket High School actually probably could use the National. I know that sounds extreme, but they almost need like a National Guard in there as an example. To think that they can't get through a school day without students being arrested for fighting. There's no learning going on. You can't, it's too distracting. There's something broken in the school system that they can't expel some of these students. There's something broken there. I'm not saying I have the immediate solution, but what they're doing about it is definitely not working. It is not working. So something needs to be changed. And something needs to be changed. What does it tell you? That Barrington teacher, I'm willing to bet the teachers union is going to make sure that he gets his job back. As much as people are going to complain and so forth, as I have talked about, the president of the Rhode Island Senate, Val Lawson, she's the head of one of the teachers unions. And I think when they had the Barrington School Committee meeting and some of those students showed up and they talked about it, immediately you saw the teachers union and they were all there in the matching shirts and solidarity, and they're there to intimidate parents and they're there to intimidate students. I mean, there's that crowd. They're not shy by any means. So, but there's something wrong with the public school system. Something's drastically wrong. However, and I want to stay on Woonsocket, you had students arrested at the elementary school. You had students just arrested at the middle school. You have consistently students being arrested for fighting at the high school. The notion that it's in their mind or the minds of their parents that it's acceptable to go to school and fight, there's something broken there. There's something drastically wrong there. The people that believe that, the parents that believe that, and the students that believe that, they don't belong in the school. You have to remove them. That goes beyond the pale of unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And I think it was the head of the superintendent, I think, or the school committee person that said, there was a mother that drove her daughter to school to fight and then filmed the fight and then posted the fight. I don't understand why they're allowing the least common denominator to be destroying the education possibilities for all the other students. I'm at a loss for that. I would have no patience for that. I don't know what the solution is, but it should be, if you fight, you are expelled. whatever. Put them in work camps, training school, anything. But what they're doing now is not breaking through. You know what else I mentioned is there are school districts. Judge Janine Piero, who I miss on the 5, who I've met, by the way, and I've been on her show. She's the U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. They're moving pretty aggressively. That going forward, they're going to start to release mugshots of 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, and 17-year-olds. You want to act like an adult, you're going to be treated like an adult. And I think that's lacking. I would be in favor of that. Now, I have read that in school districts or different parts of the country where they've tried that, it has then acted as a deterrent. So we're learning. I think this would be a different dynamic if all these students suddenly had their mugshots on the evening news or in the local paper. Let everyone see who it is. 14-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl arrested for fighting. Let's know who, let's put their names out there and their mugshots. What is this? Maybe the public humiliation will work on the parents, because what they're doing right now is not working. And maybe that should be an alternative. I like that. A boot camp, something needs to be done. But what's going on now is it's not working. And my problem is, the reason I say that is it's not working because of when you have 25 students in a classroom and there's 2 or 3 that are acting up, you are disrupting. It's beyond selfish. You have 22 kids that can't learn. So that just doesn't make any sense. So there has to be an alternative to it. There has to be an alternative. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Kids Club. Kids Club on the Pike. Call them today. Now remember, birthday party venue, before and after school care, preschool. Kids Club on the Pike. What a fantastic job they do at Kids Club on the Pike. Whether it's for, maybe it's a team party or a birthday party, before and after school care, preschool. Kids Club on the Pike. 401-443-5336, 401-443-5336, right on Plainfield Pike on the Cranston-Johnson line. It's Kids Club on the Pike. And you need options, alternatives for preschool or before and after school care. You can depend on Kids Club on the Pike. Now, I want to repeat, we don't know exactly what happened at Ponaganset High School. Something happened today involving a teacher at Ponaganset High School. That's what we know. We will try to follow up with the superintendent. We'll try to follow up to get more information, but definitely something going on. And I heard from people that have been very good sources for me that they had a situation at the school. So we will follow up on that. But there's something not breaking through. When you have, a student at the elementary school in Smithfield brought a bullet to school. The superintendent said 2 bullets. That's what we have up on the website. And then the police came out with something a little bit different. So, but I'm not sure. And I did email the Smithfield police, and exactly, the Smithfield police put out suspicious activity at Pleasant View Elementary School. Student had located a live round of ammunition. Now, that is slightly different than that parents got an email late last night from the superintendent saying 2 unspent bullets were found in the school. So I don't have an answer. on the superintendent is saying to parents that they had a canine come through and police searched the school and there were 2 unspent bullets. And then less than 24 hours later, the Smithfield police released a statement saying that a student located a live round of ammunition. Police investigated and located a student who brought the ammunition from home. Police confirmed the student had no access to a firearm and performed a canine sweep of the school. So, but what's disturbing, much like the elementary school students in Woonsocket, the fact that they're even, those kids, people were so quick to say, oh, it was just a pellet gun or it was just a BB gun that the kids brought into school, as if like, no need to worry. It wasn't a firearm that they brought in. Listen, the question should be, why are they bringing any type of weapon into a school? Not enough is being done. We hear from all of the progressive Democrat leaders. We hear about every time Governor turns around, he tries to have more of a provision against legal gun owners. And they're always, talking that game. But what we don't hear, there's something amiss. Why would these students, number one, why do they have access to a weapon? All right, the bullet, I don't know what to make of the bullet. How did a kid have live ammo? Does he have access to it at home? Does he have access to the firearm at home? It does seem odd. And I don't blame, by the way, people for being concerned about something like that. Folks, I want to remind you, the clock is ticking. Get on the list now with Corey. Quality asphalt seal coating, 401-283-9815, epoxy garages and patios, decorative concrete flooring, quality asphalt seal coating, 401-283-9815, 401-283-9815. Again, they could epoxy garages and patios, decorative concrete flooring, pickleball, tennis, basketball, quality asphalt seal coating. But get on the list now, because this is the time of year, the next couple of months when they do it, and then they have to wait until springtime. So call them today. Well, folks, if you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. Again, reporting the story about the school, Pleasant View, that was some student brought in live ammunition for whatever reason, but they feel the school is safe. And then we're going to get more details. Something happened. Ponaganset High School. Listen, enjoy this Wednesday.